Blog Talk Radio.
You are now tuned into the best fatherhood radio show in the world. Furthering Fathering Radio Show. It's the Furthering Fathering Radio Show. The brothers are back in the building. Brother J in NYC and Brother L in the ATL. The Furthering Fathering Radio Show starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You ready?
Let's get the conversation started.
I emphasize that if anyone is listening to this as a replay or listening to it live, connect with Furthering Fathering. You will be encouraged, you will be edified. The 20, 30 minutes that we're on the radio chopping it up is nothing compared to the energy and the strength you will receive from men who love you just because you're a man. And then as they get to know you, they speak life to you, they challenge you, they affirm you, and they enable you to be powerful where you're needed, which is with your family. Brother Derek, you're saying hello.
It's not only good for the child, but I think it's a mandate from God. I think the heart of the Father belongs to men, and God has called us to be that for as many children as we can. So I'd only echo everything you said. I'm fully on board with that, and I think the call is for more men to embrace that truth so that we can begin to rebuild our community, our nation, one family at a time.
Welcome to another Furthering Fathering Radio Show. I am excited to be alive, and I'm so appreciative. We just finished up the Thanksgiving time, and I was blessed to cook the turkey as I normally do for the family for the last maybe 7 or 8 years, and I'm intentional. I spend like 2 days doing it. The first day is brine and thaw it out, and in the evening holes are poked in it, and I season garlic, and I cut holes with a knife, and I push the seasoned garlic inside. I mix jerk sauce and a bunch of other sauces together and powders and what have you, and I season it. Then I wrap it in foil and put it in for the night, hours and hours, and then I cook it, for about 5 hours slowly. First, heat it up so the outside gets a little golden. Wrap it and cover it again, and then cook it slowly for 5 hours. The meat's falling off the bone, it's white and pretty, and then every time you slice it, you get a slice of seasoned garlic and what have you. It tastes different than normal turkey. That's the truth in life. And what happens is, as you leave it days after Thanksgiving, after the party leaves, and after the family leaves, and you get to enjoy it even more because the seasoning set in. So, the title of today is Furthering Fathering Radio, Appreciating the Leftovers is Capturing the Lesson. You see, Dad, when things are well prepared, the leftovers are awesome. When the seasoning set in, the reheated blessing tastes better. Wisdom, love, relationships, and perspectives work the same way. Preparation and discernment help you to move forward in love confidently and maturity. Good food passes through us within a few days, but good memories remain for a lifetime. So, this is a time of appreciation. And I want to say last week I said appreciation to, specific people who helped us through our journey. But I want to give a shout out to all those who gave me a hard time, for all those who undermined, for all those who intentionally misinterpreted who I am, what further and fathering is, what we're trying to accomplish, who insulted, put down, minimized, and otherwise cast a negative light on who the leaders are, what our intentions are, whether we'd make it or not. You see, that's part of the seasoning. That's part of going through the process of maturity, where you recognize you see things through a glass half darkened and still remain faithful, which is loyal, hopeful, which is empowering, encouraging, and loving, which is godly. So through it all, we recognize that faith is resistance training, that faith is what strengthens the spiritual muscles. As we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strengthen our neighbors as ourselves, we recognize our own imperfection and we try to overlook it and move on. Well, if we're to properly judge as prescribed, we're to remove the telephone pole, the plank from our own eyes and help our brothers remove the splinters from theirs, because we'll do it with tenderness, recognizing the pain of removing that telephone pole. So in the interim, a lot has happened. 2 years ago, my mother passed, and further and farther kind of bore the effect of it because it affected me. And I started becoming more observant of those around me. Around the time as my mother passed, a lot of people probably assuming that there would be great reward or I have a great inheritance from my mother passing, actually started asking me for money. Not really attending any of the services, not really calling and checking on me, but wanted to intimate that they wanted something from me. You see, there are two types of relationships, and I'm going to get into that shortly, but I'll go back to what appreciation is. Appreciation is three clear things. The first thing that appreciation is thankfulness. You are thankful for the entire aspect and gamut of what you've received, who you are, what you've gone through, what you're connected to. You're thankful that you've made it through the difficult times. You're thankful for the good times. You're thankful for the relationships. You're thankful for the opportunities. You're thankful for the gifts. And as a dad, you're very, very thankful for your legacy, for your offspring, for your children, for the generations that will follow you. You're very, very thankful, and you speak into them hope as much as you can and warning as much as you can. And the second thing that appreciation is awareness. In the time when people are talking about being woke, I prescribe to you that it is impossible to be awake without the Holy Spirit and the light of the Word guiding you. It is impossible to be woke without God whispering in your ear and you being silent enough to hear that alarm clock. To be attuned to the infinity that He put in your heart. To recognize where people are in their walk as He's given you discernment, and you love on them as you love yourself. So you have thankfulness and you have awareness. But the third part of appreciation is an increase in value. there is a leveling up. And then that increase in value happens over time. It's called interest. You gain interest. You become empowered by what you've gone through. And the value of what you have to offer has increased. The value of of others has increased. The value of opportunities have increased because you're thankful and aware. The value of your relationship with yourself, with God, with the several levels of relationship with God, your spouse or spouse to be, the sages, the wise elders, your brothers and sisters, those you minister to, your children, the strangers, and even yourself. All those things have increased in value, and thus your life has increased in value because you are come to a level of recognition. You know, very often you hear the adage that people say that experience is the best teacher. I preserve best for God. So I say God is the best teacher. And sometimes he gives us experience as homework. Let me say that again. God is the best teacher. And sometimes he gives us experience as homework. See, it's an open book test, but sometimes we fail to read the lesson, so we have to feel the lesson. And we have to be thankful for the lesson. And the leftovers, when things are properly prepared, taste better than the first time they were served. The principles and lessons learned are the leftovers of wisdom. So, as people remain with you, and those others who fall away and leave you, and you've made mistakes and you're forgiven, the residue, the things that are left over of those people are still standing. I could say what's up to Lance Cruel, to Guy Jazzy Rainey, to Marcus Hairston, to Will Johnson, because here in New York, many have come, many have participated, many have partaken, but those, minus any undermining, have never undermined, remain. In Georgia, we have I can't even name everyone who's contributed. But they're still there, mighty and powerful. And my best friend, Lamont Jones, OMG, that brother. Further and Fathering exists because of that brother. It's the conversation between two fathers that became Further and Fathering. The encouraging of two fathers that became Further and Fathering. That's what I want you to gain from this. No matter what happens, that remains. So for the leftovers, as we read in the passage, were for the disciples. God initially told them you give them something to eat. And they said, all we have. And they really got that from a little child. So they actually took it from a child, or a child willingly gave it over. So that even speaks to having that relationship with children. You hear that, dads? There'll be times when your child will give you what they have, and that's what you'll need to bless a large multitude. And you'll think in your mind that that's not enough. And God will multiply it. And then in the end, the leftovers, the enhanced, seasoned leftovers are for you. So enjoy the leftovers. The people who abandoned you, they were there for the celebration. But the people who remain, that helps you taste and see that the Lord is good. So there are two types of relationships. You have the enhancers. That's what Lamont Jones is. He's an enhancer. They infirm you. But then you have the other type, the manipulators. They are there for a moment to celebrate, but ultimately they will accuse you. And understand that accusing comes from the enemy. The name Diabolo, or being diabolical, or Satan, means the accuser. And when manipulators see that the manipulation no longer works, they start undermining, they start threatening, and even to the possibility of violence, because you no longer accept the manipulation. They move from accusing you to accursing you. But enhancers empower you. They encourage you. They get you to strap your talents back on and point you in the right direction. The enhancers empower you. Now, I had to get through that because I want people to understand, especially during this time of the holy days, and I call them holy days, kind of tongue in cheek, because so many, especially as people are becoming understanding, that they had pagan origins. But I will say this: anything that is redeemed by God starts out pagan. Whether it's a person, whether it's a land, you start out as an enemy, and he makes you part of his family. So that's one way of looking at it. But if anything you do offends someone else, take into account how you communicate, whether it offends them or not. And always find a reason to celebrate God. Let me see if there's anybody on the line. I still might be by myself. Oh, I have a brother on the line. 3694. How you doing, my brother?
I am doing well, Brother Jay. It has been a minute, but I pray I don't fall into the diabolical. I don't recall ever sticking you other than with a jumper at the park in Lakeview. So,
my goodness.
I'm just.
How
are you, sir?
How are you, Enhancer? How are you, Enhancer?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying life, man. I'm very thankful. I love what you said about the Thanksgiving and the leftovers. And I was blessed this year because my son cooked everything. I just sat out, ate. I made the desserts. Let me not say that. I made the sweet potato pie. My mom made a chocolate cake and peach cobbler, so we took care of the sweets. But my son, Brendan, my oldest son, took care of everything. I just laid out, and I was able to receive of my seed. So that was something I'm going to be thankful for beyond the food digesting.
That's powerful. That's powerful. As you know, it's stated in the prologue in the beginning. You know, food passes through us within days, but memories remain for a lifetime, and sometimes for multiple lifetimes, especially if they're generational memories. And it's beautiful that you know, my mother passed 2 years ago, and my wife still speaks about how the one of the last Thanksgivings, or was it Christmas or Thanksgivings, we were in Florida, how they worked together so well in the kitchen together. And due to some rough things that happened this year, we had to do some things in our kitchen, And now it's a kitchen that my wife doesn't mind being in. And we saying, oh, I wish she was here. I wish she was here. She would appreciate it so much. And sometimes it's through the passing and the passing of the torch that you feel the warmth. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes through the passing of the torch, you feel the warmth.
Absolutely. That's why.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No. I was just saying the passing of the torch. I mean, I do understand the importance of your wife and your mother being in harmony because of how blessed that places you. And mom having transitioned obviously creates a void. In my particular case, my passing is of a torch, but I'm still here. And I'm fortunate in that being able to see my son transition into manhood and to benefit from it and to see his joy in providing for me. I know it's not the same as what you were sharing with, about your wife and your mom, but I got to tell you, Jeremy, I'm so godly proud of him. And, from a father's heart, I know you'll understand this, he's better than me, and I'm thankful that God has graced me to be a steward over his life long enough to see some things manifest. And you were talking about seasoning. You and I both are pretty determined people, and there are just certain principles I've been relentless about with him, and I watch those things now as part of his nature, and that I honor God for. Like, God can come and ask me for some pretty intense stuff because I've already seen him answer my request in blessing my seed. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, I'm constantly thankful because of how my children are living. I have, 3, but I'm just talking about this particular one because he's the one that fed me. So,
understood.
Way of a man's heart, right? So, I stay grateful because I've already seen God answer. We know what we sacrifice, and we don't even know if our children are aware of it. And honestly, I don't think it matters to us. We just want to see the fruit of our love and our prayers manifest in some way in our seed. And when you can just hear your heart coming out of your child's mouth, Jeremy, Bishop, as I call you, I'm done. You know what I mean? I was so full of love that the food was just like an accent. I was so full of love this past holiday that it blessed me beyond real words.
Wow. That is the leftover.
Yes, sir.
The food is gone, but that is the leftovers. When we first had some of our first brother and father meetings over at Christian Cultural Center, Brother Herman and some of the older gentlemen who were in attendance, they made it very clear that if you think that fatherhood is the peak, he said, wait till you become a grandfather. That resonated with me. My children were very young at the time, and still are young, in the grand scheme of things. But it's that leftover that, okay, Dad may not reap the same type of benefits Mom does, because Mother's Day is gigantic. And Father's Day is becoming more recognized. I will say that. It's becoming more recognized.
Hey, thanks in large part to the efforts of furthering fathering. So don't step out of the way. Let God give you some recognition for that. So, I'll reach over and pat you on the back from wherever you're at right now.
Love you. And those,
likewise,
we don't get that same feeling during the initial process, because that's why sometimes it takes the to step back to see things in perspective, to recognize that all things indeed are working together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose, because you don't see things while you're in the midst of it sometimes. Sometimes you need that broader perspective. And what happens is when you become a grandfather, and I'm not one yet, but I'm talking to so many of them that this work puts me in contact with, that contact gives me context. And you see the level of joy because it emanates. When they talk about their grandchildren, when Lance talks about his grandchildren, when the brothers talk about their grandchildren down in Georgia, there is a level of joy that's different, because the way children run to granddad, even as they're older, is the same way the toddler runs to daddy. So it's like an enhanced version of that. So I would say to dads everywhere that good leftovers, just as you spoke before, comes from good preparation. When you pick the tomatoes, peel them, and make your own marinara, it tastes different than what you pop open the top of from ShopRite and from Costco. It tastes different.
You're right. Yep.
When you make things from scratch and fresh, you put in more labor during the preparation than the actual cooking. When you take cloves of garlic and you cut the top, you cut the bottom, and you peel them till you make sure all the shell is off of it. You make sure it's perfectly clean. Then you grind the black pepper. You cut up the red peppers. You cut up the onions. And it's funny, each one kind of prescribes a different type of feel that you get from it, because sometimes in preparation there'll be tears. That's the onion. Sometimes it's going to be tears during the preparation. Sometimes it's going to get hot. That's the pepper. That's the pepper.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you're not going to come out smelling the best. That's the garlic. But in the end, when all those same seasonings set in, and when you talk about a seasoned vet, that's somebody who has a track record of faithfulness. A seasoned vet knows not to over celebrate and to go too low. So they can point to, and encourage and empower at the same time. They can warn because they've been there. Because they're not worn out, they can warn you. So it's important that even as dads that we have those perspectives of the elders, because what they say resonates, and those become leftovers. And we only have a minute left. Wow. Time flies.
A minute left over.
Yeah. Well, today is Giving Tuesday, and I pray that those who find it in their heart give to Furthering Fathering. But I thought it would be more important that we give some perspective, that we give some hope, that we give some opportunity. And check us out at www.furtheringfathering.org. Share this podcast. Share it with others. Help a dad. Just encourage a dad. Say a compliment to a dad you see. Random dad. A dad you may know or may not know. Just tell him he's doing a good job. It means the world, because honor is the first mega need of men. So, with all that said, and I was going to read from a book that I'm actually writing on dealing with depression, seeing that this is the time where so many get depressed. It's called Excited to Be Alive, Defeating Defeat, and Overcoming Depression by Focusing on Victory. But I won't get into that. We'll do that next week. Heavenly Father, thank you for the leftovers, Lord. for the 12 baskets that came after the 5,000, for the 7 baskets that came after the 4,000. And you point to those, Lord, so you recognize that you've got us through it all. That if we try to serve a little, you can expand it, explode it, and expound upon it, because you are furthering Father, where fatherhood is elevated, where families are empowered, and communities are transformed through our 5 core principles: honor, encouragement, accountability, reconciliation, and training. Give if you can give on this Giving Tuesday. We love you, and we'll talk to you next week. Until then, shalom, peace.
Blessings, Bishop.
Love you, Enhancer. Peace.